Hi, my name is Michael Smith for Nevada Trails. As host of this of Nevada Trails, one of my jobs is to, when I find worthy guest hosts, to let them take over. And tonight I have Kerstin Wolle and Jeremy Vlcan of the Carson Valley Trails Association, and I'm going to let them go ahead and educate us. And thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Kerstin.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are both members of Carson Valley Trails Association and serve on their board. Carson Valley Trails is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization. And the reason I got involved, and I don't know about you, Jeremy, but I moved here from the Midwest, from Iowa, about 8 years ago. And that very fall, a friend of mine said, why don't you come to a Carson Valley Trails meeting? And that sounded exciting to me because I love the beautiful scenery out there and the mountains. What about you?
Well, I grew up not too far from you. I'm a Flatlander myself in the Midwest and went to school back in Idaho, and I've spent the last really about 5 years out here in Carson working kind of in California and in Nevada, but I've lived here in Carson for 5 years and spent the last several years really hiking around this whole area and getting familiar with the area. And the last year and a half, I've really gotten involved more directly with some of the organizations because I've been able to hike around and kind of have some firsthand experience within the area. So I found about the Carson Valley Associations, which is right out my back door, and here I am.
Yeah. Well, we're sure glad that you're with us, Jeremy. And he truly climbs all the mountains around here. Now, I'm not so bad myself. I'm up on many of them, too. And thanks to Carson Valley Trails Association, we have trails in the valley that we can go out and enjoy. The mission of the trails is to gain access to the wonderful public land that is available to us up in the mountains. And sometimes we even work with private owners to get easements so that we can get a trail out in the mountains. Chris, we have a good number of members, almost 200, but we couldn't do all this work ourselves. We work together with lots of other agencies, foremost with Douglas County, and we've also worked with Alpine County because many of our trails is on California land. And then we work with the government agencies, with BLM and U.S. Forest Service. We work with the Nature Conservancy. We work with other hiking organizations like the Tahoe Rim Trail. Can you think of some others, Jeremy?
Well, the Tahoe Rim Trail Association, and there's a lot of local groups, not really particularly geared to hiking, but biking and horse groups. Nevada All-State Trail Riders, Malta Alpina, and Muscle Powered are a few that come to mind. And they're involved in some of the decision-making process in some of our meetings, and it's really a group effort between a lot of different organizations. It's not just us as the CVTA, as a hiking, biking, mountain biking association. We really get the other groups in the valley involved in the decision-making as well.
Yeah, it's really nice, and we come to their group meetings as well, and we couldn't get nearly the work done if we were just working alone. So in order to get good trails in this beautiful valley, we need to work together. And I think we're going to show another picture.
Yeah, the first picture is of the Fay Luther Trailhead, which is really the kind of the main focus of the Carson Valley right now. It's kind of the flagship trail system at the moment. And so this is a typical picture, on a typical day, spring through fall. And if you go to the next picture, this will show the Joe's Peak Ranch Trailhead right here. And they're only a couple miles apart. And this is close to opening day when this trail was opened. So they both abut right up against the Carson Range, just south of the Kingsbury Foothill Road Junction, about 3 miles south of there where these trails are located.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many people come out to these trails, and they're not that difficult to hike. I met a woman just this past weekend, even though it was kind of a rainy day, and we'd climbed up on the Fay Luther Trail, and this woman said, you know, when I started the trail, I could only go to the little pond where the dogs like to drink. And just as aside here, people with dogs just love to come to the trails. And we have many horse riders too on the trails. But this woman had worked her way up in the past 7 years. She goes on the trail about 5 days a week. And she was at an elevation where she'd walked up at least 1,000 feet. And she said the reason she had not gone so high in the beginning is because of her asthma, but the continued use of the trail and hiking a couple times a week had really helped her to improve her health and be able to go up to 1,000 feet higher. So.
Well, that's really is one of the the main benefits of this trail system is it really attracts a lot of people here in the Carson Valley, not just for exercise, but for getting out in the open space and looking at wildlife. You got a lot of mule deer out there. I think you yourself just saw a black bear last week,
yes,
right?
I did. Oh my goodness, it was not very far from me, and I'm just thinking about all the beauty around me and lots of other things going on in my head all the time. And I hear something, I'm out there alone, and I hear something, and all of a sudden I see a bear about 15 or 20 feet from me. So I just stood still and let the bear lumber on, and then I thought I had better make some noise, maybe that'll scare it away. But I'm not a real loud person, so I thought, well, I'll just sing some songs. But I grew up in Sweden, so all my songs are in Swedish. And so I'm walking to the next switchback, and I see the bear again. It's just standing there looking at me, thinking, what's this woman doing? But he didn't bother me at all. But it was wonderful to see him.
Yeah, and then, just yesterday I was out on the trails, and literally 30 feet from me, a golden eagle flew right out from a juniper bush. I tried to get my camera out, and I couldn't get the one of the pictures of a lifetime. But there it was, and 10 minutes later, the coyotes are serenading because it's a cool, damp, kind of dreary day, and that's just perfect for listening to coyotes. So a lot of things out there and a lot of wildlife to see. If you just take your time and bring your binoculars and a camera, you can really get some great pictures.
Yeah. There's another thing you can do on the trails, which a lot of our members are involved in, and that is the trail building. And I know you, Jeremy, have done a lot. It's for the young and the old. I don't do the real hard work, but there's some fun things. Would you want to tell a little bit about that?
The next picture here kind of shows kind of a big picture of the Fay Luther area. It's kind of the Joe's Peak area, Frill Peak there in the background. And, beautiful pictures. And we do have some pictures of trail building. And just these past really month and a half, we've done a lot of work building trail, building new trail, doing some rehabilitation work. And it involves, a lot of easy stuff from just scraping trail, with a rake or a Pulaski, to more technical things like using chainsaws, and a lot of rigging involved. So there's something for everybody. If you go to the next picture here, you'll see this is the actual trailhead on a real busy day, but this is not unusual for Fay Luther. We've got several horse trailers here. We don't get too many mountain bikers because it's all kind of sand out there, so it's difficult to bike on. But we have a lot of horse users, and we get a lot of dog walkers. If you see a hiker out there, chances are they have a dog.
Yes.
And so we do have a cleanup station out there.
And it's important that the people understand that they have to clean up after their dogs. One of our special board members, Joyce, she's out there all the time cleaning up, and she has a whole crew. But we want everybody to understand that it's wonderful for you to have a trail where you can take your dog, and most of the year the dogs can be without a leash, and they just love it. But you do have to understand that we have to be careful with our nature and be stewards of the environment, and we can't leave, the dog poop behind. It's got to be picked up.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the conditions too when this trail was created really and open to the public was that it would be kept up and dog feces and litter would be kept clean and try to make the trail a little more friendly and more scenic as well.
Yeah.
Some more going back to trail building. If you go to the next picture here, we've got some pictures of kind of the areas on the trail. This is up on the Grandview Loop Trail, which we just built this last fall. It's about a half-mile loop trail up there, and you can get some great views of the Carson Valley. Mm-hmm. And from here, I talked to a person here a couple months ago that says that there's a black bear that would typically sit on a rock ledge from this viewpoint that they could see. So you can see a lot of things. The next picture here, we've got picture kind of the typical scene of mostly Jeffrey pines that are up there. We also have some scattered white firs, some mahogany up there. But this is kind of typical up on part of the trail. You kind of walk through very open stand of Jeffrey pine, real quiet and peaceful, not a lot of understory.
Now, we also are involved right now in building to connect these two trails. They're about 2 miles apart, are they?
The Joe's Peak Ranch Trailhead and the Fay Luther Trailhead are 2 miles apart on Foothill Road. And we are in the process of building a trail to eventually, hopefully, connect these two together. Possibly as late as this year, maybe next year, but we're in the process of building it right now. And that's what we've been doing over the past month. And so we've got a lot of volunteers out there, young and old. We've got people, very young people. We've got very experienced people that have done, rigging type work. So with that expertise, and we also have members with other associations like the Tahoe Rim Trail Association who are very experienced and very good crew leaders to teach anybody that wants to come out. It's a great experience for anybody to participate and kind of be a part of the trail building experience.
Yeah, and to learn about when we have the trail building, you can always visit our website, which is carsonvalleytrails.org, and we have all the trail building days there. And often we get young people to come. We have had the rite of passage. We're out there for 2 days last week. And on June 13th, an Eagle Scout is coming for his project to build trail. So that's really neat.
Yeah, we've got a lot of different groups coming out to help out, and it takes a lot of people to do this. It doesn't magically appear, so it's really great to have people. It's just a few more shots of the Fay Luther area. The next picture, you kind of start out walking, do some sand, but there's a permanent stream in this loop system. So even though you're kind of in the desert in the foothills, this is a great place where the dogs love to go.
Oh, yes.
And a great place for people to kick off their shoes and take a little breather there in the stream. It's a real pretty stream, a lot of cottonwoods and alders there, white alders, and it's a great experience. And
coming up here this fall, there probably will be a bench there, and we have had some significant things happening with getting some good signage, because there are now lots of new trails in the Fay Luther system. And sometimes people get a little bit confused as to where they should go. And it's important that people don't start their own trails, because that can cause erosion and also destruction of our environment. So we've gotten 2 grants, one from Nevada State Parks and also one from the prestigious American Hiking Society. And so we will be putting up some new signs at the trailhead showing a map of all the different loops. And then eventually we'll have an interpretive trail too, right?
Yeah, on one of the trails here, and it goes by this creek here and goes up on a little ridge with a viewpoint. We're going to have about 10 interpretive signs. There will be roughly 16 by 20 inches on a single pedestal. And they'll talk about anything from wildlife, geology, to the history of the area, from the settlers, the birds, just about anything. We have all kinds of topics that we can choose from. And so we're going to, in the near future, we're going to be narrowing down those topics and discussing it among the public and ourselves and see what we want to discuss. So those signs will be on the interpretive loop. It'll be a great opportunity for school kids,
Yes.
For field trips to come out. It will be a regular part, I think, of some of the schools around here to go out, a couple times a year and go for a hike and learn a little bit about the area and the area that you're from. And we're going to also have a couple signs at the trailheads, like you mentioned. We'll have a nice overhead map that shows all the trails in different colors, how far they are, what the grades are, what the cross slopes are. It gives you good information about what you're going to encounter. So it gives people a good feel of kind of the layout of the area, because it is a network of trails. We have a lot of different trails and a lot of different options in there for people to do. So if we have this on a map, they can pick and choose what they like. So, and that will be coming shortly.
Yeah. So the Carson Valley trails are for everybody. The good hikers, the beginner hikers, the very young, the very old, and everybody in between can come and enjoy it. And we're always trying to gain more access and build more trails. And we have a new trail that we're hoping to build, and that we have just applied a grant to build. Because, you might think, well, the volunteers go out and do the work. How come it costs money to build the trail? But do you want to tell a little bit about that, Jeremy?
Well, it costs a lot of money, and it's a lot of manpower and a lot of time to do anything with trails. It takes years, literally, to build any section of trail because of all the reviews that have to take place. It involves the public and what the public wants and all their opinions, and would kind of shape the whole process. And so it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money to get various people and disciplines involved to look at all the different resources, whether it's wildlife or soils, the public side of it, to get all those people involved to really have a final product that is representable of what the people want within the community. And so it does take a lot of people, and I think if we go to the next picture, this will kind of signify just what is involved and what it takes for people to get involved. This is one of the signs that we want to have for the interpretive signs. It kind of shows a mountainous backdrop. So we'll kind of have that, and there'll be text and some pictures on there. The next picture, we have actual recent pictures of some of the construction. I know you were out there for a couple of days, and I go out there when I can, outside of my other real job, I guess you could say. So I'm out there quite a bit helping with the volunteers and building trail. Here we're actually just scratching in some trail. I think you did some of this in this area.
Yes.
And we do a lot more technical things too. In the next 3 slides, you'll see some rock work that's going on, moving some of the boulders.
Oh, that's hard work.
It's a lot of work, and it's dangerous work, so it takes a lot of communication. But again, this is something that anybody can do. Everybody plays a little niche, so it's not something that you have to have experience. You don't have to have a trails background whatsoever. Anybody and everybody is welcome to come out. I think we got one more picture here of just a little bit of chainsaw work, tree that's down on the trail. And
but that's hard work just to get that equipment up on the trail.
This location is about 2-mile hike to get there, so we do a lot of hauling. A lot of heavy tools. So, I think if we go to the next slide, the next picture will show the Joe's Peak area.
Oh, yes.
And this is very recent.
That Joe's Peak Ranch trailhead, which is about 2 miles from the intersection of Foothill and Kingsbury Grade. Right now there are fields of lupin, and they are so bright and beautiful. I have never seen them as bright blue as they are this year. And with a little extra snow we just got in the mountains over the weekend, this coming weekend should be a beautiful time for people to go out and look at that scenery. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, right now with these temperatures and the rain, it really is pretty amazing. There's a lot of things besides lupin and arrowleaf coming out. There's a lot of different things out there, so get on out there. So this is the Joe's Peak Ranch that the Vlcan will eventually hopefully connect to. I think we have a couple more pictures of just some views out there. This is some of the trail work that was done when it was built a couple years ago. Again, it's all volunteer volunteer groups. Next picture, I think we show a little bit of the site. Okay, this will be the next project that we're going to talk about, which really is a grand project.
But it's, again, it's just in the preliminary stages, and we have not received any grant money for it yet. But the trailhead will definitely be at Eagle Ridge, which is by the Adams Canyon. And part of the trail will go on that old logging road. But everybody should know that this is not an official trail yet. There is not an official trailhead, so it's dangerous to go up there at this time. But this is where the planning is. And this trail will go all the way to Sierra Canyon, and hopefully meet up with the Tahoe Rim Trail.
Yeah, right now, what this proposal is, and it's just a proposal right now. Within the next month or two, we'll know more. If we receive grant money for it. But we're going to use this area by the water, this green water tower there. It's at Eagle Ridge, and that would become the trailhead, and it would follow an old logging road that currently exists, and it goes for quite a ways, but it's extremely steep. We remember going on it. It's 30-40% slope in many places. Great views, but we would follow that for a little ways, and then we'd cut off and create a hiking trail that jives off of the old logging road, and it connects into Sierra Canyon. And at that point, the trail would connect up to the Tahoe Rim Trail. So right now, we don't have any connector trail that goes up to the Lake Tahoe Basin, and this proposal would create the first trail that would connect from Carson Valley all the way to the Tahoe Rim Trail in the Tahoe Basin. So it's a great project. Right now we will have, if we get the funding, we'll have different user groups involved to help decide what type of users would be on it. At this point, it would be a non-motorized trail, and then we'll be deciding on horse use, bike use, and hike use, and what is and what may not be appropriate for that area. So a lot of interesting projects going on, and this is one of the big ones right now that we're hoping we'll get some funding for in the near future. And
when we talk about funding, I think it's important that we mention our big fundraiser. We just had that one in April. It's called Hike for Health, and we use that name because hiking is for your health. It's also for pleasure. But it is a way for us to raise money, and the money goes to build trail. Even when we apply for grants, we have to have matching funds, much of which can come from volunteer work, but also from cash. So that's where your money goes when you contribute to the Carson Valley Trails. And we certainly appreciate anybody becoming a member, not just for that your membership dues help us in our efforts to build more trail, but we really appreciate anybody coming into our group and helping us to volunteer, because there is a lot of work to be done.
There is. We spend a lot of time on this, and there's many of us that spend a lot of time. There's a lot to do, and it takes a lot of work.
Yep.
A lot of people behind the scenes doing everything. And we do have a lot of money, and we're very thankful for everybody that's become a member and has donated to the association. In the very near future, there's going to be a lot of projects going on with that money we'll be directly going into. Right now, as Kerstin said, we're in the middle of a strategic planning process, so we're trying to get a lot of data. We're trying to see what the public wants with that money, and we'll allocate that appropriately once we get all the final feedback from that. So.
Yeah. Talking about the strategic planning, that is something we're involved in right now. It's a 10-year plan, and we have asked the public to participate. We started out with intercept surveys from hikers. We had stakeholder interviews and interviews with organizations. And then we collected the data, and once it was collected, we had another public meeting where the public could help us to determine which areas were most important. And we have one more public meeting left, and it probably won't be until early fall. Mm-hmm. But if you watch a local newspaper, you can be aware of the dates. If you remember, you will get the information, and you can always go to our website, yes. Again, carsonvalleytrails.org. But what I wanted to say again about our Hike for Health is that we're really trying to get the young people involved. And one way of doing this was to have a poster contest for all the school children in Douglas County. And we've had between 200 and 300 participants in this poster contest. And this year's winner was Annika Peterson from Pinion Hills Elementary, a 6th grader. And a wonderful picture that showed a tent and some hikers and even a dog and the wonderful, beautiful trees out in our lovely, lovely valley.
Yeah, I mean, we thank everybody that attended that. That is our biggest fundraiser of the whole year. So it was a very successful last year. It was a big success this year, and yeah. We plan on doing it, probably in a little different format next year, but we will continue to do that. Yeah. I think if we go to the next picture.
1 minute.
We've got just some real quick pictures of some of the potential project area up here. This is Sierra Canyon, and we got several more pictures coming on here that show just the general waterfall that's up there in Genoa Canyon that we might go to, and going up to the rim trail. So we've got a lot of neat areas to check out that hopefully with this grant we'll be able to get more people to participate and have more trails for Carson Valley residents and other area people to enjoy.
Yeah, and if any of you want to come out for an organized hike and learn about what you can see on our trails, National Trails Day is coming up, and we're celebrating it on June the 8th. Yes. There will be an organized hike at 8:30 at the Fay Luther Trailhead. There will also be trail building that day. So to learn exactly what's going to be going on, again, go to the website. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kerstin and Jeremy, for educating us. This is Michael Smith for Nevada Trails. Thank you for watching.